Hi, I'm Brianna, and welcome back to my channel, Handcrafted Resilience. Last time I welcomed you all to my channel, I told you a little bit about myself. One of the facts that I mentioned was that I have a condition called POTS, and today we are going to discuss it in more detail. The first half of this video is going to be more informational, and the second half is going to deal with my own personal journey with POTS. So, let's get started. So I'm sure some of you are thinking, what is POTS? Well, POTS stands for Postural Orthostatic Tachycardia Syndrome, and it's a condition that occurs when a person's heart rate rapidly increases when going from sitting to standing. And it's more than just that though. Here's a list of some of the most common POTS symptoms. Syncope or fainting, pre-syncope, dizziness, migraine, shortness of breath, chronic pain, chills, numbness, nausea, hot flashes, brain fog, sleep disorders, tremors, blood pooling, memory problems, fatigue, headaches, muscle weakness, hypertension, hypotension, changes in appetite, vertigo, depression, anxiety, joint pain, and more. And the list goes on. In no way is this list comprehensive. And the saddest, most frustrating part? Doctors still don't have a cure. POTS affects around 1 to 3 million Americans and millions of others around the world before COVID. But since the pandemic, that number is estimated to have doubled. Why is this? Because several conditions like COVID are known to cause POTS. However, researchers are unsure of why this is. So, who develops POTS? The short answer is anyone can. However, about 80% of POTS patients are female and within childbearing age like myself. Now that you know a little bit more about POTS, let's talk about my personal journey with it. In July of 2021, I was having a normal day. I had spent the day relaxing and playing video games actually, nothing too crazy. All of a sudden, in the mid-afternoon, my heart rate began to increase rapidly. My blood pressure rose as I began as well. I felt nauseous, like I was going to faint. The room started spinning. I was having my first POTS episode. It lasted a couple hours before I eventually fell asleep. The next day I thought, that was weird, but I wondered if I had just eaten something weird or maybe I wasn't feeling well. However, things began to get worse. I began getting the episodes more frequently, except I started fainting with them too. At first, I was just happening in the evenings after a long day, but as time went on, so did the fainting spells. I then began fainting in the shower. Nearly every time I would take a shower, I would faint. It was frustrating to say the least. At first, I thought maybe my showers were too hot, but after playing with my water temperature, I realized it was just me. At my worst, I was fainting 10 to 15 times per day and had to use a walker or wheelchair just to get around my house. Thankfully, I can feel it coming, so I have time to sit down on the floor and get to a safe position before I pass out. It was still exhausting and very scary though. We had no idea what was causing any of this. I was teaching elementary school at the time, and prior to these episodes occurring, I was just a normal person. Normal, anyway. Amazingly, I went to this primary care physician and she listened to my concerns, and when I was done relaying my information, she looked at me and said, "Now, this is going to sound crazy, but I think you might have POTS. Have you heard of it before?" I told her that I had heard the name, but I didn't know anything about it. She then went on to explain POTS to me as simply as she could. She started me on some medication to help with the symptoms. She also wanted me to follow up with a cardiologist to get double confirmation on the POTS. I walked out of that office feeling shocked and relieved. I followed up with that cardiologist shortly afterwards, fainting in his office and alarming all of his staff, including him. He told me that I did in fact have POTS, but he wasn't equipped enough to handle my condition. So he recommended that I try somewhere else. I was disappointed, but I didn't give up. I got in touch with several people who had POTS, and they recommended that I go to a POTS dysautonomia clinic out of state. So this clinic was supposed to be one of the best in the country. However, when I got there, I was disappointed on many levels, but that doctor said I didn't have POTS and sent me on my way. All the way back home, I was heartbroken. I felt like I was at the end of the line because I had no other doctors lined up. However, I picked myself up and I kept going. After this point, I felt like my fainting episodes had progressed more, and I also developed a new symptom, seizures. I have both blank staring, absent seizures as well as full-blown body shaking seizures. So I talked to my primary care physician once again, and I asked about a neurology appointment, as I had heard they could be beneficial. My doctor then gave me a referral to a neurology office, and when I tell you that was rough, it was rough. They first told me that my symptoms were probably nothing and that it was probably just basically in my head. They did offer to give me an EEG though. For those that don't know, an EEG is where they stick tiny little electrodes on your head with medical glue and monitor you for seizures to see if you have epilepsy. So I got to go get this EEG, and an older man ends up taking it out of my hair. Guys, he leaves the glue in. He didn't take out anything. And then he chuckled and said, "You look like you're ready for Halloween." This is in October of 2023, mind you, at the time. I got home, and after an hour of many tears, coconut oil, a comb, countless other methods, I ended up shaving off all of my hair. It was hard for a while, but I got used to it. I went back to my primary care again and told her I needed a new neurologist and a new cardiologist, as the last two were rough. I knew exactly the two names that I wanted to see though, and I didn't care how long their wait lists were. The cardiologist is one of the leading doctors in POTS right now, and the neurologist has seen countless POTS patients in my town, so I knew both were good options by word of mouth. I believe I saw the cardiologist first, and he was amazing. He confirmed I had POTS as well as small fiber neuropathy, and he put me on more medication to help manage my symptoms. I then saw the neurologist, and after tons of thorough testing and additional diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and mast cell activation syndrome, she also gave me more medication and physical therapy to help me make me feel better. I'm still not 100%, but we are definitely headed in the right direction. I now have my lineup of primary care, my neurologist, and my cardiologist, and I would not trade any of them. They are all excellent. So, that's a brief summary of what's been going on with me for the past few years with POTS. There's plenty more to tell, and I'm sure I left out some details, but I'll save those for later videos. Currently, we're in the process of finding out the root cause of my tremors. While POTS can cause tremors, my neurologist wants to make sure that there are no underlying causes, especially with my recent increase in seizures. So this Friday, I'm going to get another EEG to make sure it isn't epilepsy. Hopefully this time, though, I won't have to shave my head. I know this is a longer video, but I appreciate all of you taking the time to watch it on Handcrafted Resilience. I hope this video helped to shed some light on POTS and on my POTS journey specifically. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you. Goodbye.